Hello Year 3 and welcome to Week 1 Lesson 2 of Reading. And yes, it's Robin Hood and we're going to begin our story today with Chapter 1, The Beggar Spy. Our learning objectives will be to explore how the author describes the setting and to define vocabulary involved with setting the scene. Let's have a recap. What do you remember? So you don't need to write anything down for this, just have a think as we're going through. What do we know about Robin Hood already? When was he supposed to have lived? Is he a legend or a myth? Can you remember who will be plotting against Robin in this story? I think that was in the blurb last time. Okay. Have a little think and then unpause when you're ready to see what I thought. Remember, you don't need to write anything down. Okay, let's have a look. I wrote, Robin Hood is a heroic figure and historical texts date him back to the Normans and Saxons in England. Now remember, that means that he would have been alive between 800 and 1000 years ago. And remember, we only know that from historical texts such as ancient manuscripts, which were before books were even invented. So that's how old Robin Hood is now. So the stories are based on a factual person or people who lived during this time. This means that because we have some information on him, but not all, that he's a legend rather than a myth. The myth are the stories that have been told. The legend is the character, okay? And who's plotting against him? Well, it's the Sheriff of Nottingham and Guy of Gisborne. They're plotting against Robin Hood. So we have to read on to see how they're going to try and trick Robin and how Robin is going to have to try and defeat them. But before we begin, we're going to have a look at some vocabulary that we need to know for this lesson. So let's investigate. We've got clearing, which is an open area in a forest. So there's no trees, no plants, no vegetation. It's clear for horsemen and foresters to walk and ride through. Beeches and oaks are large trees. So here is a beech tree here. And an oak tree, there's an example there. And you'll find a lot of those in the forest. Rustle. So if you hear a rustle, it's the sound of the wind blowing through the leaves of the trees. You can also hear a rustle in your classroom maybe when you hear a rustle of papers or something. So it's a soft, gentle sound, a rustle. I suppose the opposite of that, or an antonym, would be howling with wind. So that, if it was howling with wind, that would cut a very different picture of how the forest is. But this forest, we're starting off in quite a relaxed way. And finally, mounds. That's a small hill. A mound is a small hill or heaped pile of grass or earth. Right, next lot of words. A companion. A companion is a friend or someone that you know. Monotonous. That's something that's very boring and repetitive. Something you hear over and over and over again. It has the same sound, like a bird in the forest with the same call. Dipped. So if something dips, it's the swooping movement in this case of a bird as it swoops down through the forest. And wheeled, that's the circular motion of a bird flying or arcing off in a particular direction. And finally, a cuckoo. That's a long-tailed, medium-sized bird. And I've got a picture of a cuckoo there so you can have a look at what that is. Okay, that's all of the words that we've covered in our vocabulary box here at the bottom. Let's begin the adventure. Turn to Chapter 1, The Beggar Spy, page 7. The forest clearing lay still and quiet in the warm summer sunshine. Nothing moved. It was as if all the wild things there were holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. Even the leaves of the great oaks and beeches of Sherwood Forest seemed barely to rustle in the soft breeze. Suddenly, the figure of a small man ran from the forest into the open. He paused for a moment to look back the way he had come. Then he raced across the clearing to the nearer of the two long grassy mounds which stood side by side at one end. He climbed quickly to the top and looked back once more before disappearing from sight, as though into the ground itself. Moments later, the grass in the side of the other mound opened up like a trap door, and the small man came out with a companion. The turf closed behind them, and the two small figures looked quickly around them before darting off into the trees. Life returned to the clearing. A wood pigeon settled on a branch and began its monotonous call. Two swallows dipped and wheeled low over the long grass in their search for insects, and far off in the trees a cuckoo called. And look at that lovely illustration there. We can see the small man, his companion, the trapdoor which they come out of, and the wood pigeon on the branch with its monotonous call. Lovely. Cool. Right, what I want you to have a go is have a look at that first page to help you, and write down these words in your book. I want you to try and write some definitions for these words. So for example, I see the word clearing, I write it down in my book, and then next to it I would say the clearing is an open area in a forest. Okay? So I want you to pause the video now and try and write your own definitions for those. And then when you're ready, unpause the video and then you can check your definitions against my definitions and make any changes if you need to. Okay, pause the video. Right, I hope we're ready to move on. Let's have a look at the definitions. Oh no, first of all, we're going to try, my mistake, I'm going to move you on to the definitions. There we are. So, clearing, an open area in a forest, clear of trees, as I said. So just check those ones, and then if you need to make any changes, make your changes, and then I'll skip back slides to the other ones that I want you to do. Okay, if you've got all of those right, well done. If you've made all of your changes, great. Let's move on to the next set of 5 words. We have companion, monotonous, dipped, wheeled and cuckoo. And this page here on the screen is where you'll find all of those words. So that should help you, when you read them, to write your definitions. So pause the video now, try and write your definitions, and then unpause when you're ready to check against mine. Okay, here are the definitions. So check those against yours and make any changes that you need to. 3, 2, 1. Moving on. Okay, next we're going to describe the settings. So what I want you to do is look back at that last page that we read, and it describes the settings really well. I've got you started on this table here. It says, what can you see? And I've said that we can see great oaks, because that's something that is in the forest. And then on the other side, I want you to write what you can hear. And we can hear a soft breeze rustling the leaves, can't we, of the trees. So what I want you to do is make a list in a table on either side. And then when you're done, there is a question. It says, can you write a sentence about the setting based on what you can see and hear at the start of this opening chapter? So what I want you to do is, once you've made a list down each side, I want you to choose one in this list and one in this list and write a sentence about the settings of the forest. Pause the video now, give that a try, and in fact I have an example to help you if you need on the next slide. So if you want to pause and have a go at that on your own, pause now. If not, then carry on the video and have a look at my example before you begin. Okay, here is my example. I've put, as a soft breeze drifted through the forest clearing, Robin placed his bow and arrows at the base of a great oak tree, ready for the sheriff's men to arrive. So look, I've underlined the bits where I have put something that I can see and something that I can hear. So give it a try. It doesn't have to be as long as mine, but give a sentence a try and then unpause when you're ready. Okay, when you've managed to do that, I've noticed that the author uses a lot of different adjectives. I've got a start of 4 there. It says warm, great, wild, and soft. And remember that an adjective is a word that describes a noun. For example, he uses warm when he says warm summer sunshine. And he uses great where he says great oaks. Okay? A word that describes a noun. And then once you've made a little list, maybe you can get 3 more words there. I want you to tell me, in a sentence in your book, what effect does this language have on the settings? Okay, does it make you feel panicky or does it make you feel relaxed? Tell me what you think. Pause the video and unpause when you're ready. Okay, finally, definition. This is a little recap on something that we've already said. So which word from today's reading means boring and repetitive? And there's a little clue for you down the bottom. It's in that vocabulary box. Try and find it in your text. Write it down and then write boring and repetitive next to it. Look, there's the part of the text it's in. And I'm going to give you the answer in 3, 2, 1. There it is. Monotonous was the word. So monotonous means boring and repetitive. So make sure you've got that somewhere in your work today. Okay, next time we're going to look at chapter 1, page 9, and we're going to see, have a think about this question actually, between now and then. Will the setting stay calm and relaxed for the outlaws in the forest? Just have a think about that. No need to write anything. But if you do want something to do between now and then, and if you want, you can draw and label the setting based on what we've read so far. So remember those mounds that covered the trapdoor for the outlaws, the 2 small men in the forest, the great oaks and the wood pigeon on the branch. So many different pictures you can draw, and I'd love to see them. So that's an extra little task that you can be getting on with. So today we've defined, we've retrieved, and we've explored in the text. Well done for all your efforts today, and tune back in for more tomorrow. Let's have the Robin Hood.